Welcome, Imran. How has your evening been so far?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Ji, Imran, so how has your evening been so far? I think it's been a
Uh,
great
in,
learning
in,
experience.
it has been insightful, I would say, and very interesting stories from a lot of our colleagues here. And I think a lot to learn from all for whatever they've told about their journeys, about their vision, about what they see. And again, just to go back when the session started, and we were asked about to tell about what our expectations are. So my statement was what tomorrow looks like, because I think that's one important thing we need to sort of understand, that where are we heading to. So I think that's something which I would want to understand and sort of take away from you.
Absolutely. I think it has been a great learning experience. So, Imran, coming to Engro's OneSAP transformation journey, मुझे एक बात बताएं that ERP deployments are generally considered to be very complex in nature, and especially when you have a very large user base that require extensive planning, extensive forethought. So, while sharing your experience, tell us, do you actually agree to this notion?
Well, I think digital transformation in itself is a very heavy sort of terminology, and people do get concerned when they hear about this. So, and we've heard about this also in different parts in the earlier sessions which we were taking place. So when we were embarking on this journey, and we understood that this journey, what Engro was embarking upon, was something which never had taken place in Pakistan. We did not have any references available, so to say, left or right, from where we could draw some confidence. So we knew that we were embarking on a journey which is difficult. So I think the first and most important thing was to set the objective right, and having said that, the objective needs to be extremely simple for the people to understand. So we did not use difficult jargons. We did not complicate the entire thing. We just talked about how we want to standardize our processes, how we want to standardize our data, and how we want to enable effective reporting. So we just made gone with the entire basics. And again, during that process also, when we were meeting the teams, and maybe you all must have seen in our small video, anything you could see in this video was just people, nothing else. Because at the end of the day, it was all about people and implementing the change. So whenever I used to go to people, I used to sort of summarize the entire deployment into three categories. So my view was that whatever we deploy, it should be able to us to analyze the past, from where we can predict the future, and based on that, we can take decisions today. So I think that's what an entire deployment should lead to.
Absolutely, Imran. So, Imran, this entire journey actually has been an award-winning transformation, and not only that, OneSAP's ERP deployment has been regarded as Pakistan's largest digital business transformation, and on top of that, BPC deployment has been declared as the largest consolidation of entities in Pakistan. So, tell me something. When you embarked on this journey of OneSAP, how did you define success for this project?
Well, definitely, I did not sort of. The benchmark was not getting the award. The award was definitely icing on the cake. But again, as I mentioned, I think the idea was to keep it simple. So the real sort of criteria for success was that when we turn on the system, it works. Again, keep it very simple. And why do I say this? Because as I mentioned, when we were embarking on this journey, for the first time, we were trying to bring entire Engro on a single platform, which has never been done in the past. We were trying to implement a standard process across Engro, standard database across Engro. So in itself, it was too heavy. So putting more success criteria would have sort of added more pressure. So we kept it very simple, because we'll be switching off a system, switching on a new system. It should work. That was, in my books, the real success criteria. And Alhamdulillah, once we did go live, it worked. So from there, I got my success criteria fulfilled. And then, Alhamdulillah, the award, because when we were embarking on the journey, we knew it was complex and one of the largest, but we did not have an official statement that it is the largest. So, but actually, at the end, when we got done with it, we got to know about this.
Like you said, they were cherry on the top, and actually the award as well has been a feather in Engro's cap and a proud moment for all. Imran, shuru mein you talked about some challenges when you were deploying OneSAP. For example, Engro being the first conglomerate in Pakistan to undergo a massive transformation. I would like to know more about the internal challenges that you may have faced while deploying this project. Now, for example, if you talk about Wave 1 entities, you had entities like Engro Fertilizers and a very mature organization that has been around for over 50 years, and they were already SAP users. And then on the other hand, you had Terminals, a much smaller entity and completely new to the SAP world, and then the parent organization, which is Engro Corp. How did you and your team manage to bring all of these three entities onto a single platform?
Well, again, from the look of it, you understand that the three entities you talked about are not at par. Every entity is in itself different. So again, having such entities as part of the group and creating an objective of standardization at times looks odd. But that was the real challenge. So I think that the first and most important thing was to create the right teams. Again, I go back to the video, you've seen people there. Create the right teams. Create the right committees at the top. Make sure that the real stakeholders are decision makers, they're sitting in the committees. So the top post committee we had, and again, I think in the previous sessions, I think they were talking about leadership and ownership from the senior management. So our project was the steering committee was led by the group CEO himself. So that showed the level of commitment on the project that it had to be done. The second layer of the committee, which was right below that particular committee, was led by the group CFO. And now it's led by the group CITO. So the idea again was to make sure that the real stakeholders are part of the committees so that we are able to take decisions. And again, why do I say this? Because as I said, we were entering into a project where there were a lot of unknowns for us. Right. So it was important that the real stakeholders are available, they can take decisions, understand the risk, and move forward.
So you talked about challenges as well, but there was another challenge that, an unforeseen event that none of us expected. We went live in October 2019, and just a couple of months later, when the businesses were still in a transition phase, they were still getting used to the new way of working, the new system. And we all know that it's a fact that systems take adequate amount of time to mature. But just a couple of months into this phase, and we were hit by an unexpected situation like COVID, and a lockdown was imposed, and operations had to be moved online. So how did this entire situation of COVID impact system maturity? Did it at all or not?
Well, there was a challenge, to be honest, because we went live Q4 of 19, and by the time we sort of got over with the sort of go live for the processes, COVID hit us. And you all understand whenever you deploy a system, it matures in the initial phase. So at the time of maturity, COVID hit us. And we all were thrown back to a way of working for which nobody was prepared for. So I think as management, I think I would definitely, as the senior management of Engro, all credit to them, because I think they took three important decisions when COVID hit us. One was there will be zero compromise on the health and safety of employees. So nobody will come to work and whatever. So that was the first thing. So we can take whatever losses we want to, but we will not risk any of our employees' lives. That was the first statement. The other was keeping all of that health and safety parameters in place. How can we make sure that our businesses keep on running and our plants, specifically our plants, keep on running? Because those are the sort of value generators. And the third thing was continue investing in IT and transformation program. Because at that point in time, we were still halfway in our project because we still have wave 2 to do. And maybe the management could have put a stop to it. Because again, you understand, there were cost pressures, there were multiple other pressures. But they actually not only went ahead with it, they actually invested more in the IT side. And midway during COVID, let's say Q2 of 2020, we sort of started our next wave of the project. So there was no holding back on it. And coming back to your questions, and again, because of COVID hitting us and we had a system in place, it actually helped us a lot in business operations. Because there was a lot of automations done, a lot of sort of mobile applications available to us that assisted the business operations. And again, credit to the teams who were in charge of, on the company side. They continued to bring on efficiencies also during the COVID days, because people understood and realized the fact that this system, there's a stage to it. There's a foundation stage and then there's the optimization stage. And if you don't optimize a system, you are not making full use of it. So to be COVID or not COVID, the teams kept on working and they made sure that they optimized the system.
Okay, Imran, I just received a very interesting question. It says, share your one challenge to become benchmark in digital transformation. What is that one challenge that actually puts you on spot and it benchmarks our Engro's digital transformation?
Well, I think the one challenge which I would say, because again, going back to what I was started from, you always look at comparable options and comparable deployments. Engro is a conglomerate. We have lots and lots of deployments sort of in Pakistan, very great deployments, I would say. But they were mostly single company deployments. Very complex companies, single company deployment. Here we're talking about a group having around 20 odd companies with different sort of structures and different parameters. And embarking on a journey that requires courage. So I think the key challenge, if I would want to, if from what I would say, sort of puts this deployment apart from the other deployments I've seen. So it's the conglomerate part and having to deal with multiple companies at once.
Okay, so we've spoken about the challenges and everything. Imran, it's like I mentioned that it's been over a year since you've gone live. And I'm sure you must have been listening, getting, receiving a lot of acknowledgements and hearing about a lot of success stories from different entities. But what is that one achievement or acknowledgement you feel has been above all others? And that has been beyond your own expectations as well?
Well, I think again, mashallah, a lot of praise on the project internally and externally also. So and there were multiple sort of things which I can recall because we were able to close our books within 24 hours. I think that's a great achievement by any matter. Being able to dispatch the highest ever in a month, achieving cost-saving targets and all of those. So those were there. But if I want to name one of them, it would be a comment made by one of the senior management members of Engro Fertilizers, where he mentioned that in his experience, this was the first deployment ever where the customer side did not even realize that there was a large-scale transformation happening and happened at the back end. There was zero disruption for the customers. I think that is one thing which I would sort of say is the biggest achievement. And I can tell you, if I just sort of go into a little detail on this one, it wasn't by luck. There was lots and lots of, we were talking about change management throughout the day. Yeah. There was lots of change management activities which were done, right to the extent that we had mapped each and every individual in the organization to an individual in the organization to make sure that this person takes care of a bunch of people. We also mapped external vendors, we mapped customers, and right to the person who works in the warehouses, the guard, the forklifters, because everything was about to change. So I think all of that planning went into it, and that's why I think all of that sort of culminated into these results.
Okay, so Imran, moving on, there must have been, it's been a successful journey, mashallah. So according to you, what has been that one factor that has contributed majorly to this project's success?
Well, I think what I would say is the commitment of the management. And I think commitment is quite a broad terminology. Why? Because we've been talking about, and Ali mentioned a little while ago that if you talk to companies and when should transformations take place, the answer should be yesterday, but day before yesterday. But the question is, why don't people start it? People don't start because it's a journey which requires a lot of pain. So I think but again, when you start this journey, you have to start the journey with complete commitment. Commitment in terms of time, commitment in terms of resources. And just to give you a sense, like in terms of our resources management, we picked up the best of the best people from within Engro working groups. They were transferred onto the project for 2.5 years. and they started working on the project, they left their day-to-day jobs. So people like myself were also pulled out from the system and put on this particular project. So I think that commitment is required. Again, coming on the commitment, we were given a complete custom-built floor to develop this project. So I think not many things to summarize, but I think the commitment level is the most important from senior
You're
management.
absolutely right, Imran. I think rightly said, commitment is actually the foundation of all achievements. My final concluding question, it's not actually a question, but any final key takeaways for the audience here?
Well, I think everybody sitting here and does not have any doubt that digital transformation is an important journey to take. But I think we do not take the journeys. Why? Because we try and wait for that perfect time to come when we can start that journey. I think my key takeaway is that there will never be a perfect time. Organizations will have to embark on the journey and create that fine balance between operations and transformation. Operations will always remain extremely important, no questions about it, but that fine balance has to be maintained and the journey has to be initiated ASAP.
So, a fine balance between operations and transformations. On that note, we come towards the end of our conversation. Thank you so much, Imran, for being here and sharing some very meaningful insights into Engro's transformation journey. And all the best for Wave 2. And thank you to the audience for keeping up with us and remaining patient throughout the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.